Hello, everyone. It's Miss Jordan. Welcome to Cumberland at Home Summer Edition. So today we're going to be reading a informational text as we normally do. What I want you to do is go to your packet and you're going to find the text Telephones Now and Then by Rachel Cressman. So pull this out. And before we begin, as always, I want you to look through the text, see if anything catches your attention, like for example, you're going to look at the title. You will also need a pencil, guys, because we'll be answering questions. So, good readers, let's be detectives as we go through our text. Look at the title. That gives us a hint as to what our text is going to be about. Look and see if there are any vocabulary. And you also want to look through your comprehension questions, which we'll do in a moment. But before we begin, we're going to talk about one vocabulary word that you may not be familiar with. I know most of you are familiar with smartphones, but have you ever heard of landlines? So our vocabulary today is talking about landlines. And most of you may have not heard of landlines. You could ask your grandparents about those landlines because they may still have a telephone that's called a landline. Landline is a telephone connected by wire to a network of other telephones. If it has a cord on it attached to the wall, then that's a landline. So today we're going to get started reading our story. But what I want you to do as well, I want you to make sure that you're asking yourself as we read, what is this text about? What is the main idea? I also want you to look for details, okay? Once we find the main idea, you're going to be looking for details to support it. Are we ready to begin? All right, let's get ready. And so I'm going to share with you the story. And let's see if we can do the entire screen. Well, we're going to try to do. Bear with me one moment. And here we go. Okay, so what I want to do first, we know that we're going to be reading Telephones Now and Then, but I want us to go through and just skim through. We already see I've highlighted two key vocabulary terms, landline and smartphones. Now, we're going to scroll down to our comprehension questions. So as we're reading, we can be putting in our mind, what is this text about? And we can actually be answering it. So what is a landline telephone? We've already talked about that's a key vocabulary. Okay, question number 2. The article describes an example of a landline. What is one example of a landline? Again, as we read, we're going to be thinking about what is a landline. Payphones are probably not used as much today as they were in the past. What piece of evidence supports this conclusion? Now, when we say evidence, we are going to be looking for details to support it. What might be a reason that cell phones were invented? What is the main idea of this article? As we read, we want to be thinking about what is the main idea of this article, and we're going to be looking for supporting details. Read these sentences from the text. What if you had to make a call while you were away from home? You had to find a payphone. Payphones are landlines found in public places. So why does the author ask a question at the beginning of this paragraph? That's a great one. We're going to still be looking at that. Choose the answer that best completes the sentence. Landline telephones were used for many years. We're going to keep going. We're just skimming through the questions. What do all telephones help people do? What did people used to do to make a call when they were away from home? When people were away from home, and this is what we're going to fill in the blank, then we're going to compare telephones today with telephones from the past. Okay? All right. So let's stroll back up. Boys and girls, here is what we could do. We could read it together, and I would like for you to follow along. You could also have your parents read it with you. So let's get ready. Here's our title. Telephones Now and Then. Telephones help people speak to one another when they are apart. For more than 100 years, nearly every telephone was a landline. A landline telephone is one that needs to be connected by a wire to a network of other telephones. Because of the wires, people could not take those telephones with them when they left their homes or offices. What if you had to make a call while you were away from home? You had to find a payphone. Payphones are landlines found in public places. Many payphones are on the street. You can make a call from inside a glass or metal space called a payphone booth, called a phone booth. Once you are inside the booth, you put coins in a slot in the phone to make a call. Telephones have seen a lot of progress. Today, many people carry cell phones. Cell phones do not need to be connected with wires. They can be used almost anywhere and can fit in any adult's hand. Many cell phones sold today are smartphones. A smartphone is a cell phone that has lots of computer-style features. For example, people use smartphones to check email, go on the internet, and all that can be done using something small enough to carry in your pocket. So now, boys and girls, we're going to go to our comprehension questions. And remember, we're going to go back and find the evidence or the answers in our questions. In our text. So get your pencils ready. Here's question number 1. What is a landline telephone? A telephone that needs to be connected by a wire to a network of other telephones. B, a telephone that can be carried around in your pocket and used anywhere. Or C, a telephone that can be found in a public place. So we're going to scroll back up. We're looking for what is a landline. Let's always go back to our text. So if you can tell that it has been highlighted and it tells us what a landline is, okay, in that first paragraph. I'm going to skip to for more than 100 years, nearly every telephone was a landline. A landline telephone is one that needs to be connected by a wire to a network of telephones. So let's see, what did you write for your answer? If you wrote A, that is correct. A telephone, what is a landline? A telephone that needs to be connected by a wire to a network of other telephones. So now let's move along to number 2, question number 2. The article describes an example of a landline. What is one example of a landline? A cell phone, B, a payphone, or C, a smartphone. So we're looking for an example. Let's go back to our text of a landline. And so if we go to paragraph number 2, what if you had to make a call while you were away from home? You had to find a payphone. Payphones are landlines found in public places. So there is our answer. That's for number 2. If you put letter B, you're correct. So let's keep moving right along. Now, from this point on, I want you to get your pencils ready and mark your answers on your paper. Ready? Number 3, payphones are probably not used as much today as they were in the past. What piece of evidence supports this conclusion? A, people could not take the landlines with them when they left their homes. B, payphones are landlines that can be found in public places. Or C, many people today carry cell phones, which can be used almost anywhere. So choose your answer carefully. Go back to your text. We're going to keep moving on to find your evidence and draw a conclusion. Number 4, what might be a reason that cell phones were invented? A, people wanted to be able to speak to one another when they were apart. B, people wanted to be able to make calls from their homes or offices. Again, B, people wanted to be able to make calls from their homes or office. Or C, people wanted to be able to make calls away from home without carrying a payphone. All right, moving on to number 5. What is the main idea of this article? A, cell phones are much less useful than landlines and payphones. Remember, we're looking for the big idea. B, telephones have been used for many years and they have changed a lot over time. C, telephones are used to keep people apart as much as possible. So choose your answer for number 5. What is the main idea of this article? Cell phones are much less useful than landlines and payphones. That's A. B, telephones have been used for many years and they have changed a lot over time. Or C, telephones are used to keep people apart as much as possible. We're on number 6. Mark your answer, please. Read these sentences from the text. What if you had to make a call while you were away from home? You had to find a payphone. Payphones are landlines found in public places. Here's your question. Why does the author ask a question at the beginning of the paragraph. A, to hint to the reader that the author will answer that question. B, to show that the author does not know the answer to that question. Or C, to tell the readers to give their own answer to that question. Choose your answer now. Number 7, complete the answer that best completes this sentence. Landline telephones were used for many years. Blank, people began using cell phones. So A, landline telephones were used for many years before people began using cell phones. B, landline telephones were used for many years after people began using cell phones. Or C, landline telephones were used for many years while people began using cell phones. Okay, that's number 7. Go back to your text. Okay, this one you're going to write in, and I've helped you get started with the sentence. What do all telephones help people do? And I started the sentence for you. Telephones help people blank, fill in the blank. Okay, so I started that for you. What did people use to do to make a call when they were away from home? This is number 9. When people were away from home, they had to fill in the blank for me, guys. Okay, and number 10, compare and contrast telephones with landline telephones. Use evidence from the text to support your answer. And what I did, boys and girls, you're going to compare how they're like with landlines and how they're different. So go back to the beginning and look and tell me how they are like. Go back to the beginning. How are telephones alike with now and then? So how are telephones alike today and in the past? And then tell me how telephones are different. If you were comparing them, how they're different, it's in the text. So just think, let's think for a moment before we move on. We're comparing and contrasting. We're telling how they're alike or different. Okay? That's what we're doing. How are telephones from the past alike, and how are telephones from the past different? So let's put it together. I'm trying to make it as clear as possible. So let's go back to our question. It's number 10. They want you to compare them. So compare and contrast today's cell phones with landline cell phones. How are today's cell phones and landline cell phones alike? And then how are today's cell phones and landlines different? So we're comparing and contrasting, okay? So go back up to the top one more time, reread your paragraph, and tell me how cell phones and landlines are alike, and then tell me how they're different. That's contrasting them, okay? So, boys and girls, I hope you've enjoyed reading Telephones Now and Then. Go back through the text, read it one more time, and see if you can answer all the questions. Hope to see you soon. Have a good one. Bye.